This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to become a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How we doing?
Doing well, Ronnie. How about you?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Marty, how about yourself, man?
Incredible.
All right. Well, guys, welcome to Real Estate Power Play, another episode. Today we're going to be talking about, working with buyers, right? We're going to be talking about finding cash buyers, talking to cash buyers, how to sell your deals, how to partner with other people to sell your deals, all the fun stuff. So I guess let's just jump right in, man. Marty, why don't you kick us off, bro? Like, how often do you work with buyers, and what would you say is like the golden rule of working with these cash buyers, bro? Or you as a cash buyer?
Well, right. So I come at things a little differently, right? So I am a cash buyer, right?
Boom.
So the thing is, and why we were a little different is because we didn't just start the business as wholesalers, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, that's how they get into real estate is through wholesaling. And I say to those people, good luck. It is extremely difficult to get into this business and to understand the numbers and understand the nuances, knowing the lingo, and to become a wholesaler from the get-go. I really, truly think that people who start as wholesalers and are successful are just great business people, right? They're just great at sales. They're great at marketing. They don't necessarily know real estate, right? We came at it differently because we were home buyers. We had 20 properties for rentals before we even got into wholesaling. So I think we were very lucky in that sense. I know that's not possible for everybody, right? But that was our unique advantage, and everyone has an unfair advantage that you want to play into, and that was ours. So yeah, talking to cash buyers, you got to know the lingo. You got to know your numbers, and just know one thing, guys. At the end of the day, buyers are liars. So, and just like sellers are liars, so are buyers. So we can get into all of this, but I truly believe that you got to know your lingo, and you got to know the numbers, and you got to know real estate to talk to cash buyers.
Well, and I think that the lingo, knowing the lingo when you get in and knowing what they're expecting, it creates credibility, right? It creates this, hey, we're on the same playing field, right? I'm not just trying to sell you and get one over on you. Hey, I've got a deal, and this is why it's a deal, right? This is the ARV. This is what you're looking for. This is what your return on investment is. And being able to bring that forward and say, hey, I have an opportunity. Are you interested? Rather than coming off as kind of like a slimy salesperson, right? Like, hey, I just need to make some money. Like, take a look at this and sell it, buy it for me. And then it's like, yo, bro, I don't know. Like, let me go low on you. It's really being able to establish that credibility. Mark.
Yeah.
So
I got a question to ask you. So if I let's say I'm a wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
And I have a deal, and I know you're a cash buyer. What is something that you look at? What is it from a cash buyer's point of view? What are they looking at?
Well, one, I want to know what the opportunity is, right? Like immediately it's, hey, what do you got? What does that look like? And I think that's code for like, what's going on? Is it really a deal? Right? Because think of how many emails as an investor I get of like potential cash buyers, right? Because I'm on everybody's list. So it's like, yo, I got an opportunity you should look at. I want to know why I should look at it. I want to know what dynamics are happening that makes this a good deal. Is there a nugget on the back end? Is it in a specific area? Like, I kind of want to know the down and dirty, and I want to know that you're looking out for me making money, right? Marty, do you have a different perspective on that? Or what do you look at when someone reaches out to you? Are you just an email type of guy? Yo, I see an email. Oh yeah, the numbers are right. Or you, hey, I'm looking for certain things.
Well, I'm going to get on the horn with you, right? So I'm going to call you right up if you have something. I want to talk to you. I want to see it from that point of view of the investor. Again, I'm both. I'm a wholesaler. I'm a cash buyer. So I get it, right? I get you're trying to You got something to sell. I want to know, do you have it under contract? Number one, right? Like, do you have this under contract, like literally under contract, or are you trying to figure out what I would pay for it, right? Am I doing the work? Do you need me to school you on how to find the ARV, right? So, again, you don't want to go into things prejudging, but if I don't know who you are, right, and I've never worked with you before, I'm automatically going to be a little bit skeptical of what this is, okay? Unless, again, and guys, this is for new wholesalers, right? Really quickly, have a nice profile page on as your Facebook page. Don't have it with like, you smoking a blunt or you know what I mean? Like, have a nice page, a professional page with you smiling and, so that I can see, your face. I know who you are. I don't need I want your real name. These are little things that I'm going to look at quickly to see if I'm even going to take the time to even look at this deal or not. Right. So these are really important things because guys, you got 3 seconds as a first impression. So have a good first impression, know what you're talking about, have the details in the thing when you send it to me, and then have your phone number so we can talk about it.
Right. Or how about, I come across quite a bit, is the daisy chain, especially with a lot of newbie wholesalers. Like I know some of these groups are like, hey, let's team up or let's squad up or whatever you want to call it. And come to find out the person that you're dealing with doesn't even have they're not even dealing with the seller. It's like, in between, I've come across that quite a bit. I'm sure each of you guys come across that. Yeah. So, they always say the word partner, and that's usually telling you the word like, hey, they don't have it, which is fine, but just be upfront about it. Just don't we can work with those type of, deals that come in the door, but just make sure that you're just upfront. That's the one thing I can't stand is dealing with an investor that comes in and then you find out after spending hours on the deal that they say they're dealing directly with the seller and it's just a mess. I'm sure each of you guys come across that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what's happening is you don't really have the information, right? You don't know what's actually happening with the deal. And I want to key in on something here because you mentioned Marty. You said if I've never worked with you, I'm skeptical. And then what you said, you went down the direction of I want to see who you are as a person, like before even the numbers. Right? Like you're not necessarily like you want to know if it's under contract, one, if there's a real opportunity. But next, it's not so much, hey, what are all the numbers? Is this guy real? Like, is this guy legit? Right. And you mentioned 3 seconds. I think it's the Wolf of Wall Street guy. He said you got 4 seconds to establish 3 things. And he said, number 1, that you're sharp. You know the lingo, you're sharp, you get it. Number 2 is you're enthusiastic, right? Not this, yo, I'm flamboyant, but this, yo, I've got something and you need to know it, and I'm the person you want to connect with. And I think number 3 is that you really know what you're talking about here. You're an expert, maybe not at wholesaling, maybe not at the field, but I would say I'm an expert on this property. Right. I'm bringing it to you, and I know exactly what's going on with this deal right now. And I'm reaching out to people because I don't know anybody, or I might know a few, but I don't know you. But I'm trying to sell this deal, and I know this right now. Would you agree? Would you agree with that? Would you disagree? What do you think?
Absolutely. That's your business, right? That property is your business. And if you are a business person, because if you're a wholesaler, you're a business person. You need to look at yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business person. This isn't like a one and done quick 10, 15, 20,000, guys. If you look at it that way, you won't last long and you're not going to do the right things. And you're going to take shortcuts. And when you take shortcuts, it's noticeable. The sellers will notice. They're going to want to cancel the deal if you've even had the deal, right? So there's all these things you need to be doing. But yeah, number 1, you should know everything about that house. Now you can come to me and be humble, right? And say, hi, I humbly don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of this. I can tell you this though, Marty, A, B, C, D, E, F, G of this property, right? Can you tell me, like, guys, I'll tell you right now, if you come and do something humbly, right, with a humble or a humor, and you are honest, when you talk to a buyer, they will work with you. They'll want you to do well. Even if it's not them buying, they'll say, you know what? That's not for me. Do this, this, and this, and then talk to Mark Monroe because he's got a different strategy that I think would work well, right? But you got to, again, approach it differently and approach it in a professional way.
I have a question. Let's if I'm a new investor, a newbie, or a new wholesaler, like what's a buyer going to look for? Like, what are some of the things? Like, maybe I don't know everything about the deal, but what should I know about the deal? How about Ron? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. So the things that I want to know about the deal is a lot of people focus on ARV, rehab, and the potential profit, right? The gross profit in a deal is as a newbie, that's typically what we look for. But a lot of times, I as a cash buyer myself, I'm going to have my own perspective on that. And so what happens is if you come to me and you're like, yo, the ARV is this, it needs $22,000 of work, and there is $42,000 worth of profit, you need to buy this. The problem is it creates an opportunity for argument, right? Because you're seeing this and then you miss each other, right? Because I'm like, dude, I got freaking $14,000 in fees because I'm going to do this. My crew does blank. I don't even care what you have to say because you're just doing a square foot. And the ARV, I'm pulling these other numbers, right? So those are not necessarily the most important, although you need to have a good grasp on what you're looking at. And what I would say, know what other things in the area are selling for and be able to specifically identify what those properties are and how yours is the same and or different and why you see the opportunity there. So one, I would say being able to isolate nearby properties that are similar. Number two is I want to know what's similar about your house and then what's different about your house, either better or worse than the local property, and why you think that. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have in your area a 2-story house that's one of the Tudor styles, but you can't find a Tudor style house on the market anywhere around there. There's a whole bunch of properties around. They're all selling for, let's say, $140,000. But yours is this nice Tudor brick style house, right? Well, when you come to me, it's going to be like, hey, look, I'm noticing that a number of the properties in the area are selling for $130,000. I see this one. I see one on this street and one on this street. Here's the thing. I have a double lot on my property. The lot adjacent to it, the owner owns as well. So you've got a bigger area, and I've got a Tudor style brick. So yes, the houses are selling for $150,000. But I really think you could probably push this to $185,000 if it looks good. One, with the double lot, and two, these are more desirable houses in the area. And so I think the numbers could be pushed up. Now, what that means is you're probably going to have to focus a little bit more on a tailored side. See how I'm creating a narrative and a story based on what I know. That's what I'm looking for, because we're looking for, a lot of people are trying to disprove, right? Like, I'm skeptical. I'm disproving you. But if you can say, hey, I've thought about this. Here's what's the same. Here's what's different. And then I give you an out. I always do this. Hey, but if it's not for you, that's okay. I've got some other people I'm going to call, right? Like, hey, just let me know. Like, I'm not trying to sell you. I'm not like, I want to sell this property, but if it's not for you, that's cool. And then what I'm doing is then I'm going to say, is there anything in this scenario that you're interested in? I'm going to put it on them and say, hey, what do you look for in this scenario? Is it even something you're working with? Are you looking for rentals? Do you want to flip it? And then being able to talk about that strategy. And what you're trying to do is then fit this property and its details into their strategy in some way. Or, hey, you know what? Based on what you're saying, like, if you need it that cheap, this one's probably not for you. You probably need to reach out to the sellers directly and go for there. But so specifically, that's what I'm looking for is what are the properties in the area? How is yours the same and or different from those properties? What is the opportunity? And what are the pitfalls and what are the potential opportunities that you can maximize on and where someone should focus?
Right. I got a question.
What I'm looking for.
Got a question. You mentioned something, and Marty, you can answer this. Some people may not know what this is. What is an ARV? Marty, do you want to answer what an ARV is? Because I know Ronnie was mentioning that quite a bit, about they should know what an ARV is.
You know what's funny about that is that it might have been like Again, humbly, that might have been like 2 years of being in real estate. I didn't really know what that quite meant. I knew like, oh, that would be if it was on the MLS, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be on the MLS. It's what would it look like if it was sold at top value, right? So after repair value is the ARV. So, again, ask questions and feel free to look dumb. We all looked stupid when we started. Not stupid, but we all, to become the expert, you have to really, you have to ask those questions that may seem silly, right? Like everybody knows it. Well, not everyone does. So ask those questions. But yes, after repair value is kind of what that is, right? What would it sell for on the market after it's all been repaired, new kitchen, new bath, all that good stuff. So that would sell for top dollar in that neighborhood. So
I have a question for you, Marty. So if a deal is coming to you, you as the cash buyer, what are you looking at? So hey, I have a deal, like I don't want to waste your time. So what is your buy box, if you will?
So for us, our buy box is we really look. I always tell every wholesaler we want to look at everything that you might come across, because I'll tell you why. Because I'm not sure how long that wholesaler is going to be in business. So I want to know, hey, if you get something else, send it to me, right? So first every time, guys, I'll thank the wholesaler for thinking of me, for sending it to me, and I'll make them feel very good about the deal, whether I think it's great or not. I will tell them, hey, great job at least calling, great job getting out there, great job trying this out. This is tough. But what I look for, truthfully, our buy box is, we buy all over, in whether we don't go over $300,000. So I guess there is a buy box, right? So we try not to go anything over $300,000 because we're in Rochester, New York. We like to be right in our median. It's about 200,000, right? 250. So we'll look at anything like that, and anything over 300, we probably will pass on. Anything under 50,000, we're probably going to pass on. So right in between there, I want to look at it. I want to know about it.
Okay. How about go ahead, Ronnie?
Oh, no, I was going to say, let's transition a little bit. I want to know, like what I want to know, not only personally as I'm getting better from you guys, but also for people who are out there, like, one, how are you finding new people? And then once you find them, like, we talked about people being skeptical. How do you approach them, right? We talked about with humble, but like, what is that? Do you send them a message? Right? Like, but I guess let's start. How do you find cash buyers? Let's say I'm a new guy and I'm going to reach out and I don't know anybody. Like, what's my first step? What does that look like? Either one of you want to take that?
Marty, I'll let you.
Well, we find that for us, I don't want to buy a big buyer's list personally. I only work in Rochester. Okay. I'm going to be a little different than Ronnie or Mark, who are buying all over the country. Okay. Yep. I'm in Rochester. That's my market. So I'm taking the time to network. I took the time 5 years ago to go to those meetings that were boring, older real estate meetings that were just people that a lot of them are tire kickers that never bought a deal before. That's the typical people that show up to these sort of FRIA or RIA meetings, right? A lot of them, but there'll be a top dog that's there, right? So you go to those things so that you find those one or two people that are real buyers, and then you will also at the same time, you go and look at who is active posting properties, right? Talk to other wholesalers. Why not? If you were to ask me who my best buyer is, I'll probably tell you, right, on a given day. Maybe not every day, but I'll tell you some days, right? So if you want to take me out to lunch and you want to ask me who some of the best buyers are, reputable buyers, I'll tell you, right? I'll tell you. Take the time, make connections with people, take the time to go out, take someone for coffee, ask them about their life, and then also ask them, well, who are some of the buyers that you've worked with that have been really good for you? So, truthfully, it's all about your communication. It's about how much do you want to take? How serious are you about this business? and then go to the people who are real buyers, because those real buyers will say, hey, listen, not me, but maybe, XYZ, Joe Smith, Laura would buy that house in a heartbeat. It's just not for me right now.
Right. I'll answer that for you, and then I'm going to ask you, Ronnie, because I know you gave me a great tip one time on how you get your cash buyers. But how I find my cash buyers, I go into a lot of networking groups, real estate investors groups. Like, I do stuff virtually, so if I'm going into a market that I don't have buyers in, I'll go into some of the local realtor groups. More of like, I look for not the wholesale so much, but more of the true investor networking groups in those areas. Bigger Pockets is another great place to kind of look for meetup groups there. I go in there, look for buyers as well. So I just kind of get it out there and start spreading it. And even sometimes realtors, a lot of times the realtors, especially some of the experienced ones that work with investors, I love them because they may have 10 cash buyers. Yes, you got to make sure your numbers work to take care of that realtor. But that's kind of one of the ways I go about it. And I do use one of the ways that Ronnie gave a tip. And Ronnie, I'm going to let you go ahead and answer some of those questions on that.
Yeah. I'd like to definitely jump into that. And what I'll do is if I can share my screen, I'll even share my screen with the tips so people can jump in. But I think too, just thinking about it in terms of, like you said, Marty, are you serious? Is this a relationship game? And when you're going national, when you're buying national, it's a little bit different, right? So it's still a relationship game, but you're not necessarily going to connect one-on-one and be, hang out in the same market, the same RIA club. What you want is consistent interaction. That's a less amount of time. So like you said, hey, if you take me out to lunch and do this, well, I'm spending 2 hours with you. Well, I'm not in your area, right? So what you want to do, and what I've found, at least when people talk to me, is, dude, I don't have time to have a 2-hour conversation with you on the phone. But what I do have is that, hey, if you call me up and you talk to me for 5 to 10 minutes, jump off the phone, and then 2 days later you send me a text, hey, I was thinking about you. I got something. Do you have 5 minutes? And you jump back on the phone with somebody you spoke to before, or you send them a text. Well, now you have consistent short bursts. And now it shows, yo, I'm serious. Yo, I'm doing business. Yo, I'm real. Let's reconnect. And now I've had 5 interactions with you at 5 minutes apiece. That's way more powerful than 1 2-hour interaction or 1 1.5 hour interaction. So what, as far as finding people, when you're going after new cash buyers, especially nationally, what you want to do, let me see if I can do this. And there is, I'm going to go.
There is a way of sharing.
Let me.
On the bottom, I think, is that share, or is that just like on the bottom part? There you go.
There, can you see my screen?
We can, but we see you bigger. So let me see. Let me play around with it for a second.
Yeah, play around with that. So there's this website called Propelio.com. If you guys aren't familiar with Propelio, go check it out. It is a subscription that you have to pay for, but it's amazing for national cash buyers, okay? So if you go to Propelio and you go over on the side and you go to List Builder, it's going to bring you to this page with like create new list. Now, if you create cash buyers, what you're going to do is you're going to go to an area and you're going to type in wherever you have the property. So let's say we're in Dallas, okay? And let's say we're in 75228. All right, let's say that's where my property is. So I'm going to type in the area. I'm going to hit the zip code. I'm going to go down to the financials, and I'm going to put in the rough cash buyer price of what people are paying for or what you're looking to sell the deal for. So let's say the deal's a $200,000 deal. You're trying to wholesale it for like 110. I'm going to go like people who are paying between 80,000 and 200,000, right? And I want to see all the cash buyers that have purchased, let's just say this year, right? So 2021. And then I want to see all of them that have bought at least 2 deals. Okay. Let's go 200,000 again. Let's see what I do wrong. So let's actually go Dallas. We're going to do Dallas, Texas. So now I'm going to look at this with minimum 2. After this, it's given me 9 matches that hit exactly my criteria here, right? And what you can do when you come down to the list, then you can preview them and you can see, yo, Julio Salas, he's bought 3 deals at 85K average, right? Or average deal, 28,000. He spent 85K. and you can literally come down here and see who these buyers are. You can grab the list and then you can skip trace them or reach out and be like, hey, I saw you bought, blank. Hey, look at this guy. He's bought 1,270 deals over $238 million worth with an average cost of $175,000 a deal. Is probably someone you want to reach out to.
Yeah.
Right. As you're looking at it, and then you can skip trace them, look for them, and start building a relationship with these people. Right. But that's an easy way nationally to go into an area. You don't have to do people who bought just 2 deals in the last year. You can pick one person, whatever that looks like. But then you're saying, and you're building a consistent list with people who bought recently. And you can literally go and target after literally 9 people around your area. So that's just a really quick tip that we use internally. And then it's about your approach. It's about being humble. It's about reaching out to them. It's about finding out what they want and seeing if your deal fits, not just slamming it on them together. So
Ronnie, I got a question. I know Portello, they're not nationwide. So what's another good system where some people, like, say I'm in, up in Massachusetts. I know they don't have that.
So Propelio is actually nationwide.
Oh, did not know that. I thought
you can do it through the whole nation. Absolutely. Yeah, you can do it all over. So I pulled Dallas. That's where they started. But their lists go everywhere. Do
they? Do you think do you like it better than PropStream?
For cash buyers, I've used both. So I like Propelio's better, not better. I like it because you can isolate people who bought 2 or more properties. I like being able to isolate that. That's nice. A feature of theirs that's amazing. But if you want a general cash buyers, and then what you want is people who've bought, and what I would recommend on like PropStream, you want to isolate people who don't live in the property.
Right.
Because when you pull a normal cash buyers list, like whether it's ListSource or PropStream or anywhere, if you just go cash buyers, it's just going to do everyone who paid cash. And there's a crap ton of people that have paid cash that are actually living in the properties. So you want to be able to isolate a criteria that says, they're not living in the property and they were a cash buyer. That's going to be a huge benefit.
Right.
I would also say you want to isolate the time frame that they bought in, because if you're pulling someone who bought cash 5 years ago, right? Like 5 years is a long time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I like to do recent. I like to do people who bought within the last year. When COVID hit, we were literally pulling people who were buying during COVID. Like, I literally didn't even look at people prior to COVID. It was just like, who's bought in the last 2 months while COVID's happened, right? Those are the people I want to talk to.
Right. For most of you people that don't know this, Ronnie's like the data king, if you will. He's got all the resources. So if you ever have a question about list or pulling data, definitely reach out to Ronnie. Also, I know a lot of people tend to watch these videos because we do it at lunchtime on Tuesdays on Eastern Standard Time. But if you are watching this and you're replaying it later on, if you have questions, pop them in and one of us will jump in there and we'll answer a question for you on that too. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and if there's also, on top of that, if there's any tips or any questions for going, just reach out to us. If there's something specific, we would love to answer those in a future video, right? If it's whether a video or an answer, a quick answer, we'd love to do that and jump in there as well. So
I have a question. I want to go like now. Once you have your buyers list, or even Marty, like what's your system? What's your approach to stay organized when you have a deal that comes in, and then you want to start going out there and looking for cash buyers? Or what's a good system? Do you go to one specific your go-to guy, or do you put it out to many sources? Marty, how about you? What do you do? Or I know you mainly don't sell a lot. You usually take in and then you fix and you your model is you fix and turn around, sell it retail, correct? Most of the time.
Correct. So, we're hungry. So we're going to take down those deals, right? A lot of them. But here's what I'll say. When you have your buyers list, I'm a buyer, so I'm coming at it a different way. When I get that email of here's a deal, I'm like, well, who passed on this already, right? It's already kind of crap. It's kind of like it's already been on the MLS. Now, I'm not saying it's crap. I'm just saying in my skeptical head, this isn't – if it was so good, it would have already been gone. It would never even hit the email yet, right? So here's what I will say. I don't think that's bad because I know people buy off those lists all the time. What I will say is this, though. Make the call. Hey, Ronnie, guess what? I just sent you a property. All right. It's coming to your list. I wanted to give you at least the personal walkthrough on this property. Okay. So here's what's going on with it. So what that does is it makes me feel special, right? I'm a buyer. I want to feel special, right? I there's a lot that hits my desk every day. I'm sure that happens for a lot of buyers.
Yep.
So what are you doing to make yourself unique? There's a lot of people that send these deals out. Call me, talk to me, text me, tell me why.
Nice.
Give me a little bit and I will give you all of it. So
right.
I promise you that's a way to differentiate yourself. And it's a no-brainer. Very simple.
Yeah, Ronnie, what's your system when you have a deal that comes in? How do you normally go about, putting it out there to your buyers, your cash buyers?
Yeah. So right now it's funny. So we've actually pivoted simply to focus primarily on acquisitions and primarily on wholesaling and or wholetailing deals in our business. Even with like owner financing, we're creating partners. Mark, you know that we're partnering on a deal right now. So for me, we are actually currently creating wholesale partners in the markets. Now we were going direct to buyer. We still will do that with our relationships and we're going to build out a funnel with that. But right now I am hyper focused on acquisition. And so that's where all of our time and energy is going. And we're making Dispo easy by focusing on people who have local relationships. So where it goes right now for us, this is what our system looks like. We get a deal. From there, I have a couple primary relationships that I've built. We reach out to that individual. I share it in my system to them. And I say, yo, I'd like you to take a look at this deal and we can talk about it. He takes a look at it. He reviews it. We jump on the phone. We argue about what price we think it could sell for, right? Let's just be real. Okay. From there, we'll push it out or they will pass on it. Hey, you know what? This isn't for me. No problem. I'll reach out to my other partners. If we blow through the people we already have relationships with and we have nobody, we will send a direct message to buyers in the local area and start working it. But what we'll also do is we'll go into wherever that local area's groups are, and we'll say something along the lines of, hey, we have a property in this zip code that we're trying to sell. We're willing to partner on it. Is there anybody who's willing to help me out? And what will happen is people will basically say, boom, and I'll get a bunch of DMs or they'll post on the actual post, right? And they'll say, hey, I'm this. Hey, I've got an agent. Hey, I've got blank, blah, 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 blah. And then I jump on the phone and it's an opportunity for me to build relationships and put my deal in front of them and say, hey, I just need this thing sold. Here's the details. Here's what it looks like. This is why I'm not selling it. I'm willing to work with you, but this is what I want, right? Like this is what I want in the transaction. I want clear communication. I want to know what you can sell it for. I want a certain amount of time frame that you're going to do it. I want to know if you're just pushing out to relationships or if you're publicly marketing. So that's what our system is right now, is I'm basically springboarding off local individuals who have relationships. And then I'm coming to them saying, the reason why I'm not doing this is because I don't know everyone you do, right? It's not out there. It's not public. Or if I've gone through two guys, this is who I've gone through. This is what we've done. Hey, can you help us maybe push it out a little bit more? Here's the opportunity. That way it doesn't feel stale. So that's what we're doing right now.
Very nice.
That's really, really good, Ronnie, because, you've obviously picked that, hey, I really enjoy that part of getting the deal on the acquisition side, the marketing, the lists, all that, right? That's something that you enjoy. And obviously, if it's in your backyard, you can dispo it, right? But if it's outside in new markets that you're working, the time it takes to then find something that to dispo, you're lacking on what you really like and enjoy, which is that acquisition side, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I will push back slightly.
Okay.
It's not so much, not really push back. That's a strong term. It's more, what is your focus?
Right.
Right. What is your vision?
Right.
What's your VTO? How do you have your company set up? What is it you're going to focus on? What are your rocks? What is it that's going to be put in place over the next 3 months to cause you to have the massive growth? What's going to cause you to hit $4.5 million in revenue with a 70% margin? And what things do you need to put in place? And what things can be put on the back burner that are issues that you're going to deal with later, right? Dispo nationally is a later issue because we can springboard off so many people who are already doing the business. That's a later issue for me. Instead, what's my marketing system? What's my acquisition process? What do my daily trainings look like? How do I hire somebody and get them on board in 60 days? What do we do every day with the new acquisitions? Hey, what's the training look like when we're training VAs when they don't know how to use tone? How do we train tone, right? Like, these are things that we're working on. And so what I don't want to focus on is, let me build out the exact dispo system. Let me work on that script. Those are things we will get to. But guys, you got to have a vision so you can go that way. And so that's why we're springboarding on.
I like it.
I got really passionate.
I like it because I in some of these groups, I'm in some of these groups I follow, and they're coming into it, and everybody's starting out building their buyers list first because they're like, oh, what do I do when I get a deal? I mean, don't think like that. If you have a good deal, you'll be able to sell it. It's the bottom line. As long as it's a good deal, just find experienced investors and just work with and team up with. I have a question, and this I see a lot of times. Like, a lot of people are worried about cash buyers snaking the deal from them. What are your thoughts on that, Marty? What do you think about that?
Rarely does it happen.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really, truly don't think. Listen, if you did a really good job of, first of all, getting it under contract, building rapport, doing the things necessary to get someone to sign on the contract that they know that you're going to perform, I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it. I got other things to worry about than maybe something that might happen. So it's honestly never been a problem for me. I think it might have happened one time, but I didn't even have the property fully under contract. So I was trying to take a shortcut, and that was on me, right? So again, I'm not national, so it could be a little different because you really have to put trust into strangers' hands. Sometimes when you are working with people you don't know, but it's kind of like when you have a business idea and you're afraid to tell somebody because they're going to steal it. Guys, it's a lot of work. No one's going to do it. Okay. So you got to really, tell everybody what you're doing, but that's another story. But yeah, I truthfully, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Ronnie, what would you say on that?
Yeah, I was going to ask Ronnie.
Yeah. I might have a slightly different perspective.
I'm with Ronnie on this one.
I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen from me.
Yeah.
Straight up. And it really comes down to the amount of profit that is on the deal. When people suspect that there's profit. So, and there's a couple different things. One is being able to preamble your seller. I think a lot of it is seller conversations. If you're hiding things from the seller, and then the seller asks questions of the buyer, and then the buyer's like, yeah, they're selling it to me. And then they're like, well, what are you paying? And they're like, well, they pushed it out to me at 50 grand more than what you're under contract. Well, then both of them are going to be like, well, what the hell? Let's work together, right? Let's split the difference. So I would say that a lot of it is the relationship with the seller. I think protecting your interests by recording it with the state, and I really like the idea of yo, Mr. Seller, or not yo, Mr. Buyer. Like, I'm your best friend, right? Like, we're gonna feed you. If you screw me, like, everyone's gonna find out about it, right? Like, if you screw me, look, we're not gonna do business. But I also know most people here, right? So, like, let's work together. So I would say be careful, but I think that a lot of times we self-sabotage ourselves. And let me give an example. I have a $55,000 deal on the table, and I'm so nervous that I have a $55,000 wholesale deal on the table that I start doing things that are self-sabotaging behavior. Hey, Mr. Seller, the guy's going to come over, and when he comes over, can you just not be there? Like, if you could just, blah, and you come across really nervous. Hey, buyer, like, you're not allowed to talk to the seller. Well, like, we do things that are weird because we're scared. And I think if we just make it normal, hey, Mr. Seller, I've got a couple individuals coming over. They're investor partners of ours that we partner with on the deal. They're going to come over and take a look at it. Would you like us to be there or not? How comfortable are you? Right? Or if it's vacant, hey, we're going to put a lockbox on the property and we're going to have some people walk through the property. Are you okay with that? Or would you like us to let us know every time someone comes by? Oh, we'd really like to know. So it's not, just be super cool and think about it beforehand and be a little bit tactful. Right. And then you don't have to worry about it as much. But yeah, I'm definitely down with recording, especially if there are some guys who they will just sneak around you. If they do that, that's on them. You can't control other people. But what you can do is, hey, this is my business model, right? This is what we do, Mr. Seller. This is how I help you. I don't know what that guy's going to do. If someone comes about, this is where we're at. And then if they try to go a different direction, you have a memorandum recorded in case things go sideways. So it's not really the funnest topic, but I have lost money. And I think also that it's one, letting everyone know, communicating up front, not being paranoid. Don't be skeptical. Don't be crazy. Don't self-sabotage, and just tell people what to expect. And a lot of times
I guess that just comes with the territory, right? So when you are a local wholesaler, rarely you'll know your buyers. You'll know who's good. You'll know who's a quality person that's buying. We ran into something just recently where there was a wholesaler. We didn't know that the wholesaler had one of the parts. So it was a divorce. This guy needed both the people. He got one. I was in talks with the other seller. I was in talks with the wife. He was in talks with the husband. So he was under the impression that he had everybody he needed because the seller said, hey, I'm the decision maker and all that. So I was like, again, I didn't know what was going on. I was just talking to the seller. I meet with the other seller. I was talking to the wife. I meet with the husband. They go, yeah, we want to work with you, Marty. Great. I don't know about this other wholesaler yet. So then I get inbox saying, hey, just so you know, we have this under contract and we're going to be moving forward with it. And I said, I don't think so. I go, we're going to run this ground ball out because you don't have it. Right. Right. You need both parties. Right. So guys, it's competitive. We're in a competitive field here. And I'm not going to then just give this up, right? I'm going to fight for my lead. I'm going to say the best man wins. It's nothing personal, but let the best man win, right? So there was some turmoil there. There was some heat, and I have a better deal, and I'm actually going to be buying it, right? So again, I'm different. I'm a buyer, and I flip. So I have I believe I have a better strategy because I'm the one taking the deal down.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. There's a difference between what you just communicated and competition and snaking a deal. Yeah. Right? Snaking a deal is like, let's say the wholesaler reached out to you and said, yo, bro, I got this deal under contract, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then you're like, all right, cool. Skip trace. Yo, bro, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's snaking the deal. You work in the same deal as someone else who pushed something out. Dude, that's free game. Right? Yeah. Like completely free game. Right. I do that with like real estate agents. This is why I'm not a real estate agent. Is like if I find a property and it's not through a real estate agent and someone else is there and we're talking and the guy's like, yo, this is what I'm trying to do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, I can't do anything while it's listed. This is X, Y, and Z. But if things go south, give me a buzz. We can work something out. Like, that's not snaking the deal. Snaking the deal is like when you find things through the real estate agent, they looked at, like, gave it to you, and then you call the seller afterwards, and you're like, yo, let's work together. Let's cut this person out.
And you're not going to last long in the business doing that. So you're going to be found out. And, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a bigger problem. The bigger you got, the farther you go out, the bigger you get. So you got to make sure you're protected. And again, but I do think, guys, at the end of the day, it doesn't happen like every single deal, right? I mean, how many deals? Do you do? I'm gonna push you back here. How many deals have you done, and how many times has it happened to you?
I mean, he just mentioned hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
the thing is, and it has happened to me before, and it really comes down to, and it's good that, in our group here, Power Play, that we have different investors that comes in different markets, because Marty, your market is totally different. Like, it's never happened to you. You're like, that's foreign to me. And when we do stuff on a national level and we don't have that relationship in a backyard, we open ourselves up for that to happening. I had a deal myself. It was a small little town, and my buyer actually knew the seller, and they started talking because it was a smaller town. Versus, and also when you're there yourself and you're in the backyard market, you're there controlling the conversation and you're meeting with people face to face. When we're on a national level, it's a different challenge. So if you're there controlling it and your boots on the ground and you're face to face, it makes things so much easier. That's
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I just, again, it's how you qualify the buyer, it's how you qualify the seller. And it does happen. You're right. I don't know.
Well, and Marty, I think this is another thing, because one of the things I have is, like, I'm awkward sometimes, right? Like, especially when you go into new and and when you do things that self-sabotage, a lot of times we don't set the right, especially when I was new, right? Like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I mean, I was still doing deals, but like, I'm new. I don't know exactly how. I'm nervous. I'm not like all positive. What happens is you start making other people feel weird.
Yeah.
And if you say weird crap, like, I need you to do this, right? If you say something dumb, like, that's when dumb things happen, where a lot of times if we just sit back and we're just tactful, right? We think about what we're going to say. We know we got a good process. Like, that kind of cleans up a lot of the issue. And so I'm with you. So let's kind of transition just a little bit away from the protecting your property. So when I'm reaching out to a cash buyer and I'm working with them and I'm trying to sell the deal, and Marty, this might be a question for you, and I don't want to repeat what we've already said, but what I find is most cash buyers initially are looking for ways to disqualify the deal if they're working with a wholesaler, right? How do I create you to be open, where you're like trying to figure out how this deal works and the money that can be made, rather than trying to disqualify it? If I come to you and
here's how you do it.
You,
Great question. Here's how you do it. Know something about me.
Okay.
Right? Know
Unpack
a little.
that.
What's that?
Unpack that for me.
So know a little bit. Hey, saw a picture on your Facebook page of a flip you did. Looks awesome. I think I have something that might be similar.
Okay.
Your best, I believe the best people in this line of work are really good salespeople, right? And what was my job as a salesperson was to know who I'm selling to, right? I want to have a little bit of research. You may not know the person at all, but maybe you can say something like, hey, I know this area is really, really hot. I know that they're tough deals to find. I've seen that you have done a lot of work, and I'm wondering if this would be a good fit for you. So again, just give me something, a story, Ronnie, like you said, give me a story, give me something that I want to read, right? The same old is just, it looks like, a pamphlet. I want to tell a story because I'm the hero, right? So tell me how I'm the hero in your story.
That's good, man. That's really good. And I think that's the underestimating that human element. Right? The human element. And I mean, you said something really good. I have something that I think you would like based on what I've seen. It immediately piques me. Even in that conversation, if some dude jumped on the phone with me and I'm just like, oh God, right? Because that's what I might not be as positive as Marty. Like when someone calls and it's like, I'm like, oh gosh, okay, what's going on, right? Hey, Ronnie. Hey, I noticed your company, REI Bluefield, you have a couple properties over here. I have one I think might fit your niche. I saw you were doing blank. Would you be interested in an owner finance deal that looked like X? It's like, oh, what do you got? Right? Like what?
Take a little bit more. Do a little bit more, a little bit extra than some of the other people are doing, and it's going to be very noticeable. And it's just something that is going to get my attention. Guys, Ronnie, let me ask you if this is true. Mark, this is for all you guys. You're looking at a deal, and it may not be insane, but it might be good. You may have passed on this deal before, but if the person was like really cool to work with and you've enjoyed your experience with them, don't you think you might keep maybe going down that path of potentially buying it, or at least helping them very much? Like I've bought mad deals from good, like solid salespeople because I'm like, yeah, give it a shot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You don't know who you're talking to. Like, give it your all on every single one, because you may have talked to 5 people about the same thing. You've given them the same script, but I haven't heard it yet. I don't know about this deal yet. So give me something special. Tell me about it and why it would be great for me, because I can tell you for a fact, we've bought not the greatest deals. We still make money, but if you didn't talk to me about it and gas me up or gas up the deal, I probably would have passed on stuff like that. So is that true?
What's funny, that's absolutely true. Well, and I'll give you an example, and I've done this a number of times where I was the buyer and people have been the buyers for me, where it's like, look, I don't really like if you can't find somebody, give me a call back. Right? Where they're like, if you can't, look, just let me know. Push it out. You should be able to find somebody, but if you can't, give me a call back. We'll see if we can work together. And then 7 days go by and you get the call and it's like, hey man, what's up? It's like, hey, I push it out, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm getting ready to cancel this deal. I know it's not amazing, but I do after everything's said and done, there's 22 grand here.
Sure.
Right. And it's like, okay, what do you got it for? Or whatever. Like, what do you need?
What do you need?
It's like, I need blank, right? It's like, dude, that's the best I can do. Like, I need blank. And Mark's having a hard time, man. I don't know. His computer doesn't like him. Anyway, it's like, what do you need? And then they're like, look, I need blank. And it's like, you know what? Dude, I want you to make money. I know he's got going. I can put it in my process. All right, let's do it. I'll buy it for blank.
Right.
And then boom, it's sold. And it's like, that person's like, dude, you're freaking the man.
Right.
And then also on the other side, it's like, hey, remember that deal? Like, dude, we actually made 27. Actually, I sold the guy in Grand Rapids. I sold one. He was expecting to make like $12,000. Very similar situation. And 4 months later, he gives me a call because he saw another one of my deals go out. Called me up. He's like, yo, you remember that deal? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, I made 30 grand on that deal. I was like, yo, bro, that's sweet.
Right.
He's like, dude, I was only expecting to make 12. He's like, it actually, it got bid up and we hit a home run. Dude, stuff like that's super cool. So
and it happens. And the other thing is that person is going to come to you again with a better deal. So you might have to eat a little bit of, you might have to only make 15, 20K on a deal. Right. But the next one, the power of the next one is not talked about. The power of that person coming to you first on the next one, because you bent over backwards a little bit and you took a little bit longer to evaluate it and you actually did the deal, and you know that other people, they're going to come to you, and that is where the magic happens. That's where that home run happens, right? So you hit the single, you hit the single, you hit the single, and then you hit the grand slam because you did, you did your due diligence, you did the good things, you took a little bit of $5,000, $10,000 profits, right? But then you got the $85,000 deal that you wouldn't have gotten unless you did those first 3.
So Marty, I got a deal you're gonna make $4,500 on. I'll send it to you afterwards, okay?
Sounds good. Because I'll make more somehow.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap up. Final thoughts. Final thought to leave people from today. What are some key takeaways you think from the conversation that if they took one thing, what would it be? Be
a human being. Be a human being to another human being, right? we all are facing different things, different days. So, come across as professional, be funny. And again, if you're new, just tell people you're new and that you're not really sure on what you're doing, and see if there's something that they can help you with. But be humble and come in and talk to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Is just be honest, be upfront, be straightforward. It just makes business so much easier just being, because it's all going to come out at some point. So even it may be an uncomfortable conversation, just be upfront. Hey, the ARV is at this, a little bit lower. But I agree with Marty. Good stuff. How about you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I would say just remember in the being the human being part. Like if you've never worked with someone, they're initially skeptical, right? And knowing that going in shouldn't deter you, but it should cause you to want to tell a story or use that personal information to kind of open up. Hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you, because of blank. I saw blank, and this is why I'm touching base. And if you can bring that, knowing they're skeptical, bring the human element, show them that you're an expert on this thing, why it's different. And then, like you said, be humble. Hey, I'm new. I don't know a lot of people in the area, but I saw you're buying. This property is blank, and I think it would fit you. Are you willing to talk about it, or do you know someone who would help me? And I think if we can take that approach and be really strategic about just being human, and not trying to just do it quickly. I think just that little oomph in today's market. People want that, right? People want that. People are skeptical. People don't want to do the work. People don't want to put time into it, but they do want opportunities. And if you can show them that an opportunity is there, man, I think people want to work with us.
Absolutely.
Well, that's that little bit, right? So that little bit is how you be a difference maker, right? So if you want to be a difference maker, then you got to make a difference. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
Those little bits, guys. Those little
Good
add-ons are going to be huge.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, guys. Let's do next Tuesday, 12 o'clock. If you guys have any questions or whatever, put it in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you in 7 days. Peace.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.